Hello and welcome. Before we get started, I want to lay out some house rules here. So we have a questions tab at the bottom, as well as some React emojis. I encourage you to ask questions throughout this presentation and use the emojis to react when you like the content, and only enter the stage when you are invited on. Perfect. Next up here, my name is Dustin. I'm a senior cloud architect at DoiT. Today we are going to be going through some of the Google Workspace launch features for the third quarter 2024. So we're going to start off with a brief introduction to DoiT. Then we're going to jump over into how to follow the Google Workspace product updates. And then we're going to dive into all of the updates throughout the Google Workspace Q3 2024. So DoiT helps organizations simplify their cloud. We offer ways to help you buy your cloud, optimize your technology, as well as to enable and upskill your team. We have over 3,400 customers under management and over 900 cloud certifications with a 98.5% customer satisfaction rating. And we do it differently over at DoiT. We offer ways to start simply with flexible options and immediate access to expertise. And we've really broken it down into 3 different pillars. We've identified ways to help you optimize your technology in the cloud, to enable your team to upskill, to be able to have the skills to manage their cloud, as well as a better way to acquire and purchase the cloud. So we can help you with all 3 of these pillars over at DoiT. Diving into how to follow the Google Workspace product updates, there's a couple ways that I recommend. The first one is going to be the update blog, which I have on the top side here. This is essentially just a website that will receive all of the updates as new product updates occur inside of Google Workspace. I also like to subscribe to the release calendar, which you can see down here. What this does is put all of the releases on my Google Calendar. That way I can see on my calendar when new changes are going to begin rolling out inside of the Google Workspace product suite. And with that, we're going to jump into some updates for the Gemini product suite here. So in Q3, Google did release the extensions for Gemini. It was initially in beta here, and when this is enabled, users can interact with Gmail and Google Drive Docs data, all from the Gemini chat application. So this has been very helpful to be able to export stuff into a Google Doc or export stuff into a Gmail, or be able to ask Gemini about items happening in Google Drive or Gmail. Next up, Gemini also has some new features for PDF viewing. So here we can see illustrated with the picture on the right, we can now chat with PDFs and ask questions about it. So this is on by default if a user has the Gemini license, and essentially you are able to ask questions regardless of what type of content is in there. So it could be table heavy, text heavy, or even just a scanned PDF. Users would access this by accessing the Gemini sidebar in the top right and being able to ask questions about the content in the PDF file. Users may notice now that the Take Notes for Me in Google Meet has launched. So Take Notes for Me is available for all the users who have a Gemini Enterprise or Gemini AI and Meetings and Messaging add-on. So this will be on by default when that license is added to users, and users will notice the Gemini integration in the top right of Google Meet, be able to turn on the Take Notes for Me. Google has also introduced Gemini gems inside of the Gemini chat application. So gems are a way where you can create a custom AI expert and provide your own context and data to customize a topic it's an expert on. So this is essentially available as like a template, and you're able to use Google Workspace in order to build your own Gemini chat application with all of the content that you feed it. So this will help you streamline editing and scaling your marketing, as well as staying ahead of the curve and elevating your instruction. On the mobile, users with the Gemini license will now see that they can use Gemini on mobile devices, particularly on Android devices for this update. As you can see the screenshot on the right-hand side, inside of the Gmail application, you do have the Gemini integration, and then you can ask questions, summarize content, view message from a specific sender, all of the normal functions that you can do on a desktop. Some further Gmail enhancements as well for mobile devices. So Gemini allows you to be able to craft emails a little bit faster and be able to polish them as well. So this extends from both the web as well as now on mobile devices. We're also going to see some changes where Gemini will offer to refine your draft after you've put in at least 12 words inside of that draft. And we can kind of see what that looks like with the screen capture on the left-hand side here. Perfect. Just advancing a little bit further, and we can see this is what the refine my draft looks like. Do you have a certain number of words? Then you can ask Gemini to refine that. All right. Users may have noticed that you can now upload additional file types in Gemini. This includes now files from Google Drive, as well as files types like text, documents, PDFs, essentially all of the ones that we have listed here. Where this is helpful is Gemini can now summarize the content of those documents that you upload and then provide recommendations for improvements or summarize the content. All right, Gemini and related content links. So Gemini will now show content-related links in responses. So we can kind of see what this will look like with the down arrow, and it will reference where it found that information on a particular website reference link. This is limited to English prompts at this time, but this is very helpful to be able to go in and quickly reference where Gemini found this information. And with that, we're jumping over into updates for the admin console. So an important policy update for early access apps. So early access apps will essentially impact all customers. And back on July 30th, Google made this announcement that they are transitioning applications from an additional service, from an early access app over to an additional service. So this was particular for the Google AI Studio that was an early access app that turned into an additional service. So the impacts here is if the services were turned off, it would still be off. However, if it was turned on for both areas, then it would be turned on. And then admins have the ability to set this at the OU and group level as well. Admins may now notice a different section in the reports. This is going to be the data region section. So this will help admins identify where their data is being stored and processed for Google Workspace. And this gives you a simplified dashboard. And this is currently available for Enterprise Plus customers. There is some advanced reporting for the assured customers as well. Assured control customers. Google also introduced a compliance and data section to the admin console in the third quarter. So this gives you a centralized location in the admin console for managing all of the data and compliance related features. This is going to include things like the access approvals, access management, access transparency reports, and compliance. And then further down in that same section, we also have the data export, data migration, and Google Takeout all have been moved into that section as well. Google also provides a number of guides and resources in the admin console for you to be able to follow and configure your environment for your specific needs. And here we can see a couple of those examples. So access management is now generally available in the EU. And then with this update, customers can now select the physical location of the Google support team accessing their data. So customers in EU can restrict support personnel to EU Google staff in EU locations with this update. And then this is available for assured controls as a paid add-on for Google Workspace Enterprise Plus as well. Google has introduced some new functionality with the Apple Volume Purchasing Program. So with this update, this now allows admins to streamline the deployments of business applications to Apple devices. Mandatory apps will automatically be installed during the enrollment for company-owned devices, and Apple IDs are not going to be required for any devices inside of the company-owned inventory. So this is going to give a better user experience when distributing the mobile devices that are company-owned, as well as the applications. Google has introduced a Google Drive inventory reporting functionality here, and we can kind of see this in the data integration section. So this provides admins with an enhanced visibility into all of the data stored in Google Drive, and it exports that data over to BigQuery. So this allows admins to identify risks such as unauthorized access or oversharing of documents. And then this is available on the Enterprise Standard and Plus editions, as well as Education editions and Enterprise Essentials Plus Frontline Standard. Google has introduced a new way for admins to create classification labels for users to apply to files. So these are useful for creating classifications, reporting, and auditing, and much more. Admins are able to enable the labels for specific applications when you're setting them up. And when a document has a label applied, a lock icon is going to appear to show that the application and the label are protected by that policy there. Google's added some DLP functionality for Google Forms, and this is now generally available. So this will prevent sensitive content from being shared externally, and rules can be configured to block, warn, or simply to audit those sensitive data types in Google Forms. So this is available on the Enterprise Standard and Plus SKUs, just like the normal DLP controls for Google Workspace customers. And we can kind of see what that's going to look like in the top here. The big red warning bar, that is going to be an impact of the DLP rules that we implement. Google has made a change to how label administration can be conducted inside of the admin console. So now it's moved to a standalone UI inside of the Google admin console. And the badge labels and the standard labels are also being combined into a single type there. They're all going to be under the badged list. So you can kind of see what that is going to look like here as well. So we can apply those labels to different applications and have them in different states, all within the label manager section of the admin console. And then we can also see what this looks like as well as we get into editing those particular labels. And this is a duplicate. We're going to go ahead and skip past this one. All right, audit and allow list and audit logs for URLs. Admins now have controls to restrict URLs that are used in AppScript and Google Sheets that get data from external sources there. So new logs will be added to show which URLs are being accessed, and admins can create a allow list to enable or disable specific URLs. On the user side, users will only be able to use the allowed listed URLs for app scripts and for sheet import functions. And this is going to give more granular control over to how external data access sources are being aligned with zero trust, just being imported to your various assets inside of Google Workspace. Admins now have some additional controls for data loss prevention and context-aware access conditions. So now admins can prevent the download, printing, and copying of files. So this is going to be off by default, and this is an enterprise feature. And we can see what this will look like on the right-hand side when the restrictions are applied based on those context-aware access rules. Make a copy and such other functions will be restricted. All right, this is a pretty big one here. This is for third-party applications and configuring apps. So admins can now configure the apps and select which OAuth scopes and Google APIs are allowed to access. So this will prevent applications from getting additional access based on the different types of scopes they might request or add in later on. And it's going to be available to all Google Workspace customers. So this will allow admins to select just the scopes that are absolutely necessary for those third-party apps to function without over-granting access to other scopes that aren't necessarily needed. Google Meet hardware logs are now going to be shown in the security investigation tool and inside of BigQuery. So we can see this new log sync here, and we're going to be able to see historical events as well as create customized alerts off of the logs contained in this location. And then these logs can also be imported from the investigation tool over into BigQuery for a longer retention time and further analysis. And then we can see what this will look like over in the BigQuery as well when you're doing a particular query against the Meet hardware. And then on the Google Calendar interop settings, we have some changes here. So previously, interop settings for Calendar and Outlook were split into two different locations. Now they are all being combined into a single interop settings section of the admin console. So this will just make it easier for admins to find that particular section when they are looking for it, instead of having different places to navigate to. Admins are going to notice some different filters available in the Meet hardware. These are going to be able to allow you to filter based on different asset IDs and being able to add in these columns to be able to get more information at a glance of that single dashboard there. You're also going to be able to further group devices together based on their different configurations. And we can further see what this is going to look like when you're managing your Google Meet hardware. So you're able to add more columns and then be able to sort the data based on those columns as well. This is going to be very helpful for large organizations with many Google Meet devices. Google has partnered with electricity maps to provide an hourly emissions data report within the carbon footprint report of the admin console. So what this does is allows admins to track the emissions and the carbon footprint of their Google Workspace usage all the way down to specific tools. So this is a partnership between Google Workspace and the electricity maps in a way to allow admins to monitor their cloud emissions over time and by product. And here, Google has added Notebook LM as an additional service as well. So Notebook LM is available globally in over 100 languages, and it allows users to interact with content that they add to their notebooks. So it'll generate summaries, briefing docs, timelines, case studies, frequently asked questions, etc. And you're able to provide your own kind of content to Notebook LM and then interact with it by asking questions, as we can kind of see in the demonstration on the left here. So by moving this over to an additional service, admins now have the ability to be able to turn this off and on for OUs and groups in the admin console. Google has added some new chat API space management features. So these are going to include the ability to manage tasks at a scale, including like membership management, onboarding and offboarding, and then cleaning up some inactive spaces. All of these are also available as well using the Google Apps Manager integration. So GAM with the command line allows you to do bulk interactions at scale. And together, this is going to enable admins to manage spaces in bulk or programmatically, including being able to delete inactive spaces or audit external memberships. Google has introduced a new tool called the Security Advisor, and this is going to be for business level organizations. So this is going to provide some insights to how you're using Google Workspace and some actionable guidance at a glance to be able to improve your security posture. It's also going to take a look at the data protection controls and the features included in this Security Advisor are going to be the Chrome Enhanced Safe Browsing, Gmail Enhanced Safe Browsing, Gmail Security Sandbox, the data protection, and app access protection. We kind of see what this dashboard is going to look like on the right-hand side. So any organizations on the business SKUs can open these up and get actionable insights and be able to lock down their environments and make it a little bit more safe for their data. All right, this is a little bit more generic, not particularly inside of the Google Admin Console, but still related. So Google Workspace Marketplace in the Google Cloud Console is now going to have a draft functionality. So if your organization publishes Google Workspace Marketplace store pages, you can now create modifications to them and save them as a draft for review. So previously this wasn't available. You would just make your changes and save them, and essentially they would be going live at that point. But now with this new draft feature, it's going to be easier to share the draft and have it reviewed internally before it gets published live. Perfect. We're moving on to Gmail product updates here. Awesome. So we have some new Gmail application updates, including the new formatting bar and additional formatting options that are added in. There's also a number of helpful keyboard shortcuts that are added to the Gmail and chat applications. So you can press the question mark on an external keyboard to see those shortcuts. The Smart Compose is now available on Android devices, so tablets and foldables. Excellent. And we can kind of see those shortcuts as well here. as well as that new Smart Compose. Email replies in the Gmail application on mobile are now faster on Android devices. So this is particularly the new quick reply feature. Users can use the quick reply directly at the bottom of new email conversations without needing to open a new screen. So this is a welcome enhancement I've noticed on other Android applications where you can quickly shoot off a single reply with a button at the bottom of the notification. I'm happy to see this brought over into the Android Gmail application now. And it looks like later this year, this should also be coming to iOS devices. BIMI, Common Mark Certificates. So Gmail now supports the Common Mark Certificates for BIMI. And this allows for a wider range of senders to use BIMI. So it's the verified checkmarks that are displayed on Android and iOS as well. So that is a good example of it. And what this does is provide an additional label of security and increase confidence for users. When they see this, they know that they can trust the email and the sender. Contextual smart replies. So this is a new update for the Gmail app on Android devices. So the Smart Compose allows faster email composition there. And then Gmail Q&A allows users to ask questions about their inbox as well. So really this combines a lot of those Gemini features that we were previously talking about. And the Google Meet and Gemini interoperability now includes HDMI presenting as well. Moving on to Google Calendar here. Google Calendar's appointment schedules have been updated, and they now have some custom weekly occurrences that you can configure when creating your appointment schedules. Bookers and co-hosts can now add other guests or rooms to booked events. And the appointment schedule creators can also add Google groups as co-hosts during the setup. So this gives a lot more functionality to how calendar booking appointments can be used inside of organizations. Google Meet on Calendar now has some further controls where users can now pre-configure meeting notes, recordings, and transcripts. So this ensures that things like the take notes for me or record this meeting functionality are done automatically without needing to manually enable them on the call each time. But these can be done all from the Google Calendar on the particular events and the meeting controls to be able to turn on these extra settings. These are available on the Business Standard and Plus SKUs, as well as Enterprise, Starter, Standard, and Plus. Google Calendar now has an embedded calendars update, and it really includes a refreshed look and feel for embedded calendars. So users are going to notice a accessibility features such as a screen reader and then keyboard shortcuts, and then improved text spacing for the layout in different screen sizes. Google Calendar now has a way to show birthdays inside of the calendar on Android devices. So when the birthday type event is added, it will also have a large image up at the top there. Moving on to Google Chat product updates. So with this update, users can now catch up and follow threads from the shortcut on Google Chat. Threads are going to appear directly under the home shortcut, enabling users to catch up more quickly. And then you can, your threads are going to be followed in the following scenarios. So when you're the author or when you're explicitly following, so you have marked a thread to follow, or when you have been replied or you were mentioned in a thread. And lastly, when you have when the notifications are set to all, you will also get those moved over into the shortcuts. Google has introduced a new way to do automations in Google Chat with IfIt and UKG Flow. So the IfIt application allows users to automate chat with over 1,000 applications. And you can set up workflows like emailing, onboarding emails, or notifications. And then the UKG Flow allows users to perform common actions in chat. So we can kind of see what both of those are going to look like down there in the chat application. Moving on to Google Drive here, access to Google Meet artifacts is now supported in the Google Drive API scope. So we can see what this new API scope is going to look like. That's the drive.meet.read-only scope. And this will allow the programmatic access of meeting transcripts, notes, recordings, and more. This is a welcome change for developers to be able to use this new API scope. We now have some automatically generated captions inside of Google Drive for uploaded videos. So the captions will only support video at this time, but there are plans to support other languages. And then this automatic captions is going to improve the searchability of those files. Admins are going to be able to allow users to request the captions. So it's going to be an enable or disable feature there to allow users to turn that on. And this is going to be available for all Google Workspace customers. We have a new update in beta here. So policy visualization. So currently there's no explanation as to what actions are restricted by security policies on files. And with this change, users interacted with a policy protected content will now be informed about what actions are restricted. And they're going to have the shield icon in the banner. And when you click that, users are going to be able to see all of those restrictions. Business Starter Edition of Google Workspace is getting some shared drive features, and this started in mid-September. So this is going to enable Google Business Starter customers to be able to start creating those shared drives and have those central locations for managing organizational content. Some admin level controls will not be included in the Business Starter SKU. Admins will be able to add and remove members and change access levels, as well as restrict moving content externally. Google has introduced a way for access to be restricted to shared drive folders. So this is a very welcome change, and it's going to get very granular here. So shared drive managers can now restrict access to folders for specific users. And restricted folders are going to be viewable, but not openable by those without access. So there's going to be kind of a difference there. They're going to be able to see the folder exists, but not what's in it. This is going to be available to both shared drives as well as My Drive. And then shared drive managers and folder owners will retain full access. So looks like this is currently in the beta program to enroll in and begin testing. We're jumping over into some updates for the doc sheets and slides here. So we have some new import and export Markdown inside of Google Docs. So we now have the ability to convert, copy, export, and import Google Docs to and from Markdown. This is going to impact both users and developers, and it's going to be helpful for technical content writers collaborating on software. There's going to be no admin controls for this either, and it did start rolling out in mid-July. View and structure Google form data in Google Sheets. So this new feature automatically structures the form data as a table inside of Google Sheets. If you were to open an existing Google Sheet connected to a form, you'll need to convert that over to a table. You can do that with the Format Convert to Table option. And this is going to be a welcome change in just how the data is displayed in Google Sheet when it comes from a Google form there. We now have some third-party smart chip resources inside of Google Workspace here. So some third-party partners include LucidSpark, LucidChart, Zoho Projects, and all of these allow you to create smart chips inside of Google Docs. Before this can start, admin does need to install the partner add-on from the Google Workspace Marketplace. And after that is set up, the users will be able to use the add-on by using @ in the menu in Docs. All right, for Google Sheets, we now have a table conversion suggestions inside of Google Sheets. So it will proactively suggest converting a meaningful data range into a table. And you can hover over the indicator that previews the suggestion. And with a single click, you're able to actually convert that over to a table. Google Drive now has some homepage updates. So Google has now combined the file and folder suggestions on the Drive homepage and made it easier for seamless navigation and organization. You're also able to do some quick exports for searches for file type, people, and date and location all up at the top. And then Google has up to 6 suggested folders and 10 suggested files all pinned up at the top. Of course, you can hit the view more to expand that out as well. Google Slides has a new update where multi-monitor support is now supported. This allows for viewers to view notes on one display while presenting on another. Presenters can see the presentation controls, the speaker notes, and a timer on their display, while the audience will see a separate monitor or on the projector of just the presentation. So this enhances the presenter confidence and control over presentations. Inside of Google Docs, Google has introduced a polished cover pages functionality here. So this will differentiate docs with a full bleed cover image. And we can see what that looks like over on the left. You can insert a cover image using a chip, the insert menu, or the @ shortcut. And then cover images require the pageless mode to be enabled as well for this to function in the full bleed through. Yep. Back over to Google Sheets here, Google has introduced a notifications for conditional notifications in Sheets. So previously it was kind of very generic. It was an update was applied to this sheet, send me a notification, but now there's some more conditional notifications. So users will receive a detailed email based on the changes made to the sheet, and you can have up to 10 rules added to a single spreadsheet there. And you can see the example on the right-hand side. You can give it a rule, assign what types of data you're looking for changes, and then make that save that change. And then this is the email that users would receive when turning on those conditional updates. You can see those kind of multiple updates added to a single notification email here. Awesome. We're jumping over into Google Meet product updates. So Google Meet and Zoom interoperability had an update where now you have the ability to present content via a wired HDMI connection. So you can present the HDMI content to your Zoom meetings from a Google Meet hardware device. And this makes it easier for Google Meet meetings to be supported from Zoom rooms, or to present HDMI content into Google Meet meetings from Zoom rooms. Yep, excellent. Yeah, so this is a very welcome change. I am familiar with the conference room management, and this is going to make it very easy, more streamlined in order to get that content shared across the entire meeting bridge. Google has introduced a clearer re-enrollment for Google Meet hardware devices. So this is primarily aimed at admins, but I'm still in the Google Meet kind of hardware category here. So the update is concerning about how devices are re-enrolled, and then re-enrolling devices without deprovisioning it will create a new record and a new device ID. The old record is going to stay active and must be deprovisioned to free up the license. So settings from the old record will not carry over to the new record either. And then admins should familiarize themselves with the full re-enrollment process of the Google Meet hardware devices. Google Meet has some new camera framing options for Meet hardware. This feature is now fully available, and admins can set a default camera framing for individual or multiple devices at once. Yeah, and this will essentially do camera framing abilities inside of Google Meet hardware rooms. This one is also aimed primarily at admins, but is helpful for any large organizations with many Google Meet devices. So with this update, Google eCDN for Google Meet reduces the overall bandwidth consumption. And what this does is, with no additional software or hardware or end user actions, admins can enable the group at an admin level or console, and essentially it reduces traffic at the firewall level by distributing that out from one to another Meet hardware device, all from one central location, when they are all together behind a firewall. So instead of concurrent streams, they can essentially do fewer streams and then distribute that content between themselves. The Google Meet increases its ultra-low latency for live streaming support. So now it's up to 100,000 users, but no more than 25,000 users can be connected to a single regional data center at a time. The benefits of this is a virtually lag-free experience and up to 720p per speaker. Perfect. And this is going to also, viewers can now join the ultra low latency live streams from Google Meet hardware as well. So this is also previously covered, but Google Meet and the Take Notes for Me, this is now fully launched. If you have the Google Gemini add-on, you can use the Take Notes for Me functionality. This is an update I've been noticing quite often in the last few weeks. So picture-in-picture mode inside of Google Meet. So picture-in-picture mode will now automatically trigger when switching tabs during a meeting. And this will ensure that the meeting always stays visible and accessible if you need to switch your tabs while it's occurring. This is only applicable on the Google Chrome while on a computer. And we can see what this will look like on the right-hand side. When you switch tabs, the Google Meet will be minimized into a picture-in-picture mode. And then there are some additional controls here inside of Google Meet as well to automatically enable or disable that functionality. Google Meet is now going to begin sending one email for all the meeting artifacts. So this is going to include the recordings, transcripts, Gemini meeting notes, and live streams. So all of those will be added into a single email with all of the assets included. And this is just going to reduce the amount of inbox clutter and be able to help users navigate and find the artifacts related to a meeting faster. Google Meet now has some host controls for add-ons. So meeting hosts and co-hosts will now be able to use add-ons during the meeting. Hosts can turn these off and restrict add-ons to use to hosts only. And this feature can be configured from a laptop and desktop and applies to all participants. And when you configure this, it's going to apply to all future occurrences of this meeting as well. So again, this type of control would be essentially configured on the Google Meet session of your Google Calendar and being able to customize the host and co-host controls there. Google has a new way to preview upcoming features for Google Meet hardware. This allows users to be able to test those upcoming features before general availability. So admins can choose to enable the early preview to receive new previews. And then the preview banner is going to display on a device when it is in the early preview mode. Google does recommend that 10% of these devices should be in early preview mode or less, because essentially these are brand new features that are being tested. We don't want to impact all of your meeting rooms if there was a hiccup. But excellent, yeah, excited to see the new updates to Google Meet hardware. And that concludes it for our Q3 2024 product updates for Google Workspace. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions about the content, or if you'd like to dive more into some of this content, please feel free to reach out to us at doit.com. Thank you.